My name is Susan Bowerman. I'm a registered dietitian and Senior Director of Worldwide Nutrition and Education and Training here at Herbalife Nutrition, and I'm also Chair of the Herbalife Nutrition Dietetic Advisory Board. I'm so happy to be doing this training. It's a training I've been wanting to do for a while, where we're going to spend some time today talking about how to use our products in Herbalife recipes. Now we're going to spend some time talking about how to make recipes that are fun and recipes that are healthy. You know, I've mentioned before that when we are making our shakes, our Formula 1 shakes, that it's really important if you are offering a shake to someone and if they want it to be filling and satisfying, it's really important that those shakes provide enough calories and protein for them to be satisfying. Because if you are making your Formula 1 shakes, for example, with water, that might be okay for a snack. It's going to be about 90 calories and roughly 9 grams of protein or so. However, if you want something more substantial, you're going to want to have more calories and protein, because I talked before about the satiating nature of protein. So it's important that your shakes have enough. And then we talked about nutrient density before. So making sure that when you are adding things to your shakes, that you want to use these nutrient dense add-ins anytime you can. I know that these high calorie add-ins and toppings are popular, and I'm not saying not to do them, but it is important to really think again about the nutrition that you're buying with the calories you're spending. So you want to really use those toppings sparingly, and we'll get into that in a minute as to other things that you might be able to do to make your shakes appealing and attractive, but at the same time not overdo it on your calories. So how can we keep our shakes fun and healthy? Well, one of the things that you can do is think about healthier toppings, rather than some of the ones that are highly caloric. Is fruit's always wonderful. I love to use fruits and vegetables and fruit peels and seeds, all of these things, because number one, they're beautiful. You have, fruits and vegetables, you think of all the different colors and textures, so you can use fresh or dried fruits. And I'll show you some images of that in a minute. Fruit peels. If you think about the peels of citrus, or I have some images of using peels from apples, these can be really, really beautiful in some of your recipes. Seeds add a lot of color and texture. Spices, of course, add a lot of flavor. Herbs you may not have thought about, but some herbs are sweet. So certain herbs like basil, for example, goes really well with fruit. So you might want to experiment with that. Some whole grain cereals, if you crush those up, you're going to be adding a little bit of fiber and some nice texture. Same thing with rolled oats. I know many of you are making overnight oats, and that's a great thing to add into some of your recipes. At the same time, you want to go a little bit easy on these higher calorie syrups, although if you're using sugar-free, I'll say that one's okay. Whipped cream is just pure fat, so you want to go a little bit easy on that one. Watch things like candies and sprinkles. Really use these sparingly. Granola, which sounds healthy because it's often made with oats, which is a whole grain, but it's very, very sugary and often high in fat. Nuts and nut butter, as I mentioned before, does add protein, does add healthy fat, but does have a fair amount of calories. So for those who are watching calories, this is a time when you might want to go a little bit easy. And then things like crushed graham crackers, they're nice. They add nice texture. They're sweet. They're made with refined flour. So you want to just kind of go a little bit easy on those toppings. So these are just some examples, and I'm going to show you some more. But one thing you can do, for instance, is you can make a Formula 1 shake. You shake it up with 1 or 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and let it stand, and it turns into this wonderful pudding after about 3 hours in the refrigerator. So simple recipe. You can top it with some fruit. It's beautiful, super easy, and you've added some fiber and also some protein from the chia as well. Or just start, as I said, with adding some Formula 1 to some of your baked goods like waffles or pancakes. Now, the toppings, as I said, here's just to show you that these can add up. So if you think about just a tablespoon of something like granola or a syrup or nuts or peanut butter or sprinkles, you're looking at somewhere between 50 and 100 calories. Whipped cream a little less because there's a lot of air in there. So that's okay if you use it sparingly. And the same thing with the graham cracker, one of the little squares, only about 30 calories. But as I said, they can add up. So you want to use those lightly. And let's talk about too, it's about mixing products, because I know in a lot of recipes, you may start combining things and we don't really have any restrictions on that. So you can use them however you want to. Just keep in mind that we do have a lot of fortification in our products, vitamins and minerals. So you don't want to start combining so many products that you could actually, give somebody more vitamins and minerals than they really need for the day. But the most important one I would say to pay attention to is the caffeine. We recommend that you don't exceed 200 milligrams of caffeine at a sitting and no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine for the day. So if you're going to combine, for example, tea and liftoff, you're okay. But that would just be with one serving of each. So just be cautious how much you're using so that you don't exceed those limits. And then the last thing to say about when you're combining products is just remember that any claims that we make about our products only apply when you make them as directed. So once you've put high protein iced coffee into a recipe, once you've put Formula 1 into a recipe, the claims that we make for those products only apply when you make them as it's indicated on the package. So just keep that in mind if you're making any claims. All right, so I know a lot of you are asking, well, how can I make my shakes more beautiful? And these are just a few examples of things that I found for you. And they're just some wonderful ways. The bottom left there, you can see that's just simply adding fruit and seeds. And, the beauty of natural foods, I think, is something that we should exploit as often as we can. The one on the top left that's layered there, the way that you do that is really just by thinking about having different densities. And so the mango portion on the bottom is a shake that's being made with a little bit less liquid so that it's a lot of fruit. And so it's denser and it sinks to the bottom, whereas the one on top, that has the kiwi and the spinach in it. And so that one is going to have more water. It's going to be lighter. And if you pour it carefully, you're able to make these wonderful layers. You can see in the middle there and to the right that things like, we have strips of basil, we have citrus strips. On the right, it's a sprig of rosemary. These are beautiful things to be able to put in that add flavor, and they're just, again, they're natural, and we're not talking about adding a lot of calories. The one on the bottom with the clouds, it looks complicated. It's actually not. It's done with Greek yogurt. And if you just take the back of a spoon and you smear a little bit of Greek yogurt on the inside of your glass and carefully pour your shake inside, you can get that image of your shake floating on clouds, which is wonderful. The one on the right is done in the freezer. So if you really want to play around with that, you have to pour one color of your shake into your glass when your glass is seated at an angle and let it freeze that way. And then once it's frozen, you pour in the other color there, the blueberry, the purple color, and stick that back in the freezer, and you can make some pretty cool things with that. Here's a couple other images for you just for inspiration. I love the one on the top with the passion fruit because it's so beautiful. The one on the left on the top has a little bit of natural, I believe that's thyme, the herb, and just some slivers of apple. But look how beautiful that is with the apple peel and the cinnamon stick sitting on top. The one on the bottom with the two colors is done by, again, sort of thinking about different densities of your liquid and pouring them alternately into the glass, and you can get that beautiful effect. And then the one on the right, which is just spectacular. Look how they've threaded those blueberries probably onto a little bamboo stick and garnished it with fresh herbs and even edible flowers. It's just fantastic. And these things look so beautiful. They're so shareable.